Hello. So I busted my butt all week getting Abby's cutter costume done, and it was beautiful, and it looks really cute on him, and he didn't wear it to the con. Because we also had the leftover Sebastian Legolas costume, and I'd made a new quiver for it, and that's really beautiful. And I was like, okay, if you want to do two costumes, because that's what he wanted to do, and we're only there one day, we'll just go out to the car like after lunch and change your clothes. And we should start with the Legolas costume because that braid is going to be a pain in the ass. And I would rather get that done at home where I have resources because I don't do fishtail braids. In fact, I had never done a fishtail braid until this weekend. And I did it by using intuition. I didn't even look it up. I was like, this is how I think it's probably achieved. And it looked splendid and it looked fucking amazing. And he was adorable, except that everyone assumed he was a girl. Everyone.
People and their assumptions.
Right? I mean, he's got these thick, dark eyelashes and this long, flowing blonde hair and this high, piping voice. And people are just like, yep, gotta be 2X chromosomes. And I'm like, no. Even cis people don't particularly like being misgendered. He doesn't give a shit. I'm the one who minds. That's the funny part. He'll correct people, but he's just in an offhand way, like, yeah, no, I'm a guy. Anyway. There was a little boy selling Pokemon masks who I shit you not was flirting with him.
Aw.
Now he's gonna disappoint so many little straight boys.
Look, maybe he'll teach them something new about themselves.
Oh, open us all up in unexpected ways. Anyway, I did. When Abby, by the time after lunch rolled around, we'd actually seen the whole con. It really wasn't terribly impressive. They didn't have any celebrities there that we cared about. It was like WWE and Leave It to Beaver. Right? The only person I wanted to see was Osric. Oh, what's his last name? I remembered it until 2 seconds ago. He was a secondary character in Supernatural. He's also been in like half a dozen Hollywood videos as various characters. And I wish I could remember his name. Hang on, I'll look it up. Anyway, he was supposed to be there, and he is voicing Skywise in the audio movie of ElfQuest. So I was like, well, if he's here, he needs to see my Nightfall, and he needs to see Abby's Cutter. So I will run out to the car and do that. He wasn't there.
Well, dang.
Yeah. Anyway, how was your week?
It was fine. I'm happy with my hair today. That has not been the case for several days because it keeps not doing what I want it to do. But it's at that awkward length where it's like long enough that I really have to push it to keep it out of my eyes, but it's too short to tuck behind my ear. So we've been dealing with that.
That's when I whip out the barrettes, but I can see that barrettes are not your.
I've been tying it back and pinning it, but the problem is like if I pull it back, it's not really great for my hair, and also it's not super comfortable. And I don't know how I would barrette it.
Right? Yeah. No, especially since you've got the cute little floops, and they need to stay floopy.
Yeah, exactly. Once I pull it back, there ain't no floops, no mo.
No floops, no mo.
No.
Just once. Open with Chrome. Because I want to know what is his name. No, not writing, you bastards. I hate it when you do that to me. When it opens a page and you go to click on a thing and the page expands as you click, and it's like, so you meant this? And I'm like, Osric Chow! It's Osric Chow. Do. He'll make a. That's him. He'll make a very good Skywise. I assume. I don't know that I've ever actually heard him talk because he's just mouthing along with whoever's singing in the Hollywood videos.
Fair. And we haven't actually, at least to my knowledge, none of us have actually watched any Supernatural. I watched the first season one time.
I watched the first episode and a half, and I couldn't. The first episode was hilarious because nobody else wanted to watch it with me. I wanted... Like, the kids were already into it, and I was like, I want to see what my kids are into and be more inclusive as a mother, etc. And Jason was like, well, you're on your own because I've heard things I don't want to. And halfway through the first episode, where, like, the mother's been eaten by demons and the just really creepy vibes, and curled up on the couch at 1 a.m, and one of the bedroom doors opened. Just on its own. Because of a draft. Like, it was just an open window and a draft, and I was like, this is the part where I die. I honest to God grabbed a fireplace poker to go check on the door. Like, I was... And then the second episode was supposed to take place in Colorado, and they were knee deep in ferns, and they had cell service inside of a mine. And I went, I'm out.
I love when things are supposed to be in Colorado and it's like Vancouver, Colorado.
Right?
Where the fuck are all those ferns coming from?
We don't have ferns. I really need filmmakers to understand this. We don't have ferns that are bigger than about this big.
Yes, but the other thing that we don't have is competitive tax breaks for filming companies. So we're not going to see Colorado.
That's right, motherfuckers. You all have to pay full price. You want to film up in here.
Right, which is why they don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Colorado doesn't have a film industry, is because our tax breaks are for shit. That's why everybody films in Georgia and Vancouver.
Yeah.
It was a frequent topic of conversation when I was in film school, because we all knew we'd have to move if we wanted to work.
Or lobby for the tax breaks.
I mean, that too, but mostly move.
Right? I think Colorado's got to stick up its bum about filmmakers coming in and cluttering up its beautiful little towns. They would rather have skiers and Texans. And skiing Texans.
I think the overlap between skiers, Texans, and filmmakers is probably non-zero, so...
That's right. Pay attention, lawmakers.
Look, I didn't say I wanted, but I'm not in film school anymore. I don't care. But it does make me laugh when we get lots of like, or there was that one movie that was supposed to be in Boulder, and they're like, we're going to go to the river, and then there's like a big giant river that they're all swimming in, and I'm like, where?
We don't have any of those. We only have rivers you can spit across or wade across. If they're wide, they're shallow. Like that's all we get up in here. Reading books about rivers that were like so wide you could get a steamboat on them confused the crap out of me. It was like,
right? I still think that I would probably have an existential crisis if I ever saw the Mississippi.
I saw it from a plane once. That was fucking crazy. You look down and everything looks like capillaries, and then there's this bar. And you're like, oh. And then a little while later, there's another one, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? It was the other one was the Missouri. Like, they're both huge from 30,000 feet.
I imagine they're not small from ground level either.
Right. I haven't seen them at ground level. I have issues with lakes that are really big too. Just we're not used to water. But does Wyoming have tax breaks? Because Wyoming looks more like Colorado than Vancouver does.
I mean, I think Wyoming just doesn't have any people.
That's even better for filmmaking. You don't have to deal with population.
Right, but you can't hire local crew. You got to fly everybody in.
Yeah, but it's not hard. Not well.
What was I going to say? Have we talked about the river in England that like nobody gets out of alive?
No.
That's cool and freaky. So there's a spot in a river in England, and it's only about like 2 or 3 feet wide. So it just looks like a little trickling stream, right? But if you step into it, what it actually is a regular sized river turned on its side, because it's a larger river upstream, and then it narrows into this very deep but very narrow channel. But it's the same water, so it's the deadliest body of water on the planet, because people think that they can wade through it, and no one who has ever fallen in has survived.
Damn. That's freaking crazy.
Isn't that crazy? It's something... Oh, dang it. I forget the name, but...
But it's the devil's something.
It's not. I mean, it's in England, so they don't name things like that.
Yeah. Gotta be all Wild West. I guess it was in Wyoming as the Devil's Cauldron. Yeah, because we saw it when we were at the family reunion. And that's the one where, like, there's... Water goes underground here and comes up here, and it's definitely the same water, and you can see both ends from one spot. They're like really close together, but if you drop like a ping pong ball here, it'll take about 30 minutes for it to come up here, and no one's quite sure where the water is going or what it's doing in between.
Right? The Bolton Strid is the name of it. I can share my screen real quick and show you a picture. See, I think I can anyway. Okay.
It's freaky. With a reputation like that. Oh. So yeah, it looks like you could just totally...
Right, like you could jump from there to there, which maybe you could, but if you slipped, you wouldn't be coming up again.
Wow. The river eats you.
It's part of the river wharf. It appears modest and calm. It also seems shallow. Yep, there we go. And now...
Ooh. There we go.
There we go.
Anyway, we've just gotten to the bit where Baragond is like, holy shit, you've been through a lot of stuff.
Indeed.
It's like, no, I'm just a kid. Oh, so you went through the Entwood. You know, we used to have legends that massive creatures lived there. Oh yeah, we met them. They took us to war. It was great. They leveled Isengard. We got to watch.
Ah yes, come and look and tell me what I can see, right?
That's right.
The sun was now climbing, and the mists in the vale below had been drawn up. The last of them were floating away just overhead as wisps of white cloud borne on the stiffening breeze from the east that was now flapping and tugging the flags and white standards of the citadel. Away down in the valley bottom, 5 leagues or so as the eye leaps, the great river could now be seen gray and glittering, coming out of the northwest, and bending in a mighty sweep south and west again, till it was lost to view in a haze and a shimmer, far beyond which lay the sea 50 leagues away. One of the side effects of reading a lot of fantasy during formative years is knowing how much a score is and how far a league is without having to think about it.
Right? And fathoms and furlongs.
I don't know fathoms and furlongs as well.
Fathom is, I think, 6 feet, and a furlong is about a city block because it's 1/8 of a mile. What I ought to know better from all the reading of British fiction is what a stone is, but I have yet to easily multiply by, is it 14? I think it's 14.
That was 12 pounds. Hang on. We're gonna
I
have to
used
check
to
that.
think it was 12, and then I remember being surprised. So it's not 12. It's something weird.
How much is a stone? Yep, 14 pounds. Approximately 6.35 kilograms. What I love is when British people are like, oh, yes, we're on the metric system. It makes a lot more sense. And you're like, how much do you weigh? And they go, about 10 stone.
Yep.
We don't even use that measurement. Anyways, the sea was 50 leagues away.
Yep.
Pippin could see all the Pelennor laid out before him, dotted into the distance with farmsteads and little walls, barns and byres, but nowhere could he see any kine or other beasts. Many roads and tracks crossed the green fields, and there was much coming and going, wains moving in lines towards the great gate, and others passing out. Now and again a horseman would ride up and leap from the saddle and hasten into the city. But most of the traffic went out along the chief highway that turned south, and then, bending swifter than the river, skirted the hills and passed soon from sight. It was wide and well paved, and along its eastern edge ran a broad green riding track, and beyond that a wall. On the ride, horsemen galloped to and fro, but all the streets seemed to be choked with great covered wains going south. But soon Pippin saw that all was in fact well ordered. The wains were moving in 3 lines, one swifter, drawn by horses, another slower, great wagons with fair housings of many colors, drawn by oxen. And along the west rim of the road, many smaller carts hauled by trudging men. That is the road. What?
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're like, laters. What you working on?
So many moons ago, like a lot of moons ago, it's embarrassing. Drea gave me these with as a commission. She thinks they're awesome, but dull. They don't fit her aesthetic because there's no fantasy element. She wanted maybe a dragon crawling on them, or phoenixes, or something. So I'm off to find my tracing paper. And we're going to design the fantasy elements for these, and then we're going to paint them on there. And that might make up for all, well, not all, but for some of the many commissions I've missed over the years when I said, sure, I'll do that, my love, and then didn't.
Neat.
Indeed.
Sorry, my brain just had a minor sort of
Freak out.
Basically, I heard someone the other day refer to it as an electric hamburger, and that's basically what it feels like.
Sometimes your mind just goes out for a gallon of milk.
Yep, so the carts were hauled by trudging men.
That's it.
That is the road to the vales of Tumladen and Lasarnak, and the mountain villages, and then on to Lebanon, said Baragond. There go the last of the wains that bear away to refuge the aged, the children, and the women that must go with them. They must all be gone from the gate and the road clear for a league before noon. That was the order. It is a sad necessity, he sighed. Few, maybe, of those now sundered will meet again. And there were always too few children in this city. But now there are none, save some young lads that will not depart, and may find some task to do. My own son is one of them. They fell silent for a while. Pippin gazed anxiously eastward, as if at any moment he might see thousands of orcs pouring over the fields. What can I see there? He asked, pointing down to the middle of the great curve of the Anduin. Is that another city, or what is it? It was a city, said Baragond. The chief city of Gondor, of which this was only a fortress. For that is the ruin of Osgiliath on either side of Anduin, which our enemies took and burned long ago. Yet we won it back in the days of the youth of Denethor, not to dwell in, but to hold as an outpost, and to rebuild the bridge for the passage of our arms. And then came the fell riders out of Minas Morgul. The Black Riders? Said Pippin, opening his eyes. and they were wide and dark with an old fear reawakened. Yes, they were black, said Beregond, and I see that you know something of them, though you have not spoken of them in any of your tales.
Yeah,
Maybe
we don't
that was on
bring out our
purpose.
traumas just like that, dude.
I know of them, said Pippin softly, but I will not speak of them now. So near, so near. He broke off and lifted his eyes above the river, and it seemed to him that all he could see was a vast and threatening shadow. Perhaps it was mountains looming on the verge of sight, their jagged edges softened by well-nigh 20 leagues of misty air. Perhaps it was but a cloud wall, and beyond that again a yet deeper gloom. But even as he looked, it seemed to his eyes that the gloom was growing and gathering, very, very slowly rising to smother the regions of the sun. This is very much like what it's like living in Denver right now.
Oh.
The haze is just unreal. It waxes and wanes a little bit, but like there's been days when you couldn't see like a block away. It would be all hazy and you couldn't really make anything out.
Oh, that fucking sucks. It's rained once or twice down here, so the air quality's a little better.
Yeah, the rain has helped for sure. This is mostly like early August. It was really bad. Like Denver was the most polluted city in America.
Hey, that's one of those distinctions you want. Not at all.
Indeed. Yeah. Also, like if you went, like I went outside and I had my car windows down for a little bit driving, and I had to roll them up because my eyes were stinging.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was nasty. So near to Mordor, said Beregond quietly. Yes, there it lies. We seldom name it, but we have dwelt ever in sight of that shadow. Sometimes it seems fainter and more distant, sometimes nearer and darker. It is growing and darkening now, and therefore our fear and disquiet grow too. And the fell riders, less than a year ago they won back the crossings, and many of our best men were slain. Boromir it was that drove the enemy at last back from this western shore, and we hold still the near half of Osgiliath for a little while. But we await now a new onslaught there, maybe the chief onslaught of the war that comes. When? Said Pippin. Have you a guess? For I saw the beacons last night and the errand riders, and Gandalf said that it was a sign that war had begun. He seemed in a desperate hurry. But now everything seems to have slowed up again. Only because everything is now ready, said Beregond. It is but the deep breath before the plunge. Why were the beacons lit last night? It is over late to send for aid when you are already besieged, answered Beregond. I do not know the counsel of the Lord and his captains. They have many ways of gathering news. And the Lord Denethor is unlike other men. He sees far. But he doesn't have a palantir. Some say that as he sits alone in his high chamber in the tower at night and bends his thought this way and that, he can read somewhat of the future. But he doesn't have a palantir. And that he will at times search even the mind of the enemy, wrestling with him. But he doesn't have a palantir.
No palantir.
And so it is that he is old, worn before his time. But however that may be, my Lord Faramir is abroad beyond the river on some perilous errand, and he may have sent
crush on him.
So did Tolkien.
Oh yes. Well, how can you not? He's perfect.
But if you would know what I think set the beacons ablaze, it was the news that came yestereve out of Lebanon. There is a great fleet drawing near to the mouths of Anduin, manned by the corsairs of Umbar in the south. They have long ceased to fear the might of Gondor, and they have allied them with the enemy, and now make a heavy stroke in his cause. But this attack will draw off much of the help that we look to have from Lebanon and Balfalis, where folk are hardy and numerous. All the more do our thoughts go north to Rohan, and the more glad we are, for these tidings of victory that you bring. And yet, he paused and stood up and looked round north, east, and south. The doings at Isengard should warn us that we are caught now in a great net and strategy. This is no longer of bickering at the fords, raiding from Ithilien and from Anorian, ambushing and pillaging. This is a great war long planned, and we are but one piece in it, whatever pride may say. Things move in the far east, beyond the inland sea, it is reported, and north in Mirkwood and beyond, and south in Harad. And now all realms shall be put to the test, to stand or fall under the shadow. Yes, yet, Master Peregrine, we have this honor. Ever we bear the brunt of the chief hatred of the Dark Lord. For that hatred comes down out of the depths of time and over the deeps of the sea. Here will...
Is storytelling like a grammar school subject in Gondor?
Probably.
That would make a lot of sense, because it's not like he's like blah. He's very good at marshaling his thoughts and making them sound like a narrative.
Well, you got to figure that Gondor is probably a little bit more literate than Rohan, but not that much.
Right? More oral tradition than anything.
Exactly. And when you live in an oral tradition society, you learn how to extemporize really well. It's like a cultural skill.
It makes me think of, did you ever read The Horse and His Boy in the Narnia Chronicles?
No.
There is a character that turns up who is a runaway princess, and she's telling her story, and the boy interrupts, and the horse bitches at him like, she has learned from her cradle how to tell a story the right way. You just sit down and learn. And the boy's like, okay. And he's right. It's like it's a subject in her learning curriculum. There we go. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's see. Comes down out of the depths of time and over the deeps of the sea. Here will the hammer stroke fall hardest, and for that reason Thrandir came hither in such haste. For if we fall, who shall stand? And Master Peregrine, do you see any hope that we shall stand? Pippin did not answer. He looked at the great walls and the towers and brave banners, and the sun in the high sky, and then at the gathering gloom in the east. And he thought of the long fingers of that shadow, of the orcs in the woods and the mountains, the treason of Isengard, the birds of Evil Eye, and the black riders even in the lanes of the Shire, and of the winged terror, the Nazgul. He shuddered, and hope seemed to wither. And even at that moment the sun for a second faltered and was obscured, as though a dark wing had passed across it. Almost beyond hearing, he thought he caught, high and far up in the heavens, a cry, faint but heart-quelling, cruel and cold. He blanched and cowered against the wall. "What was that?" asked Beregond. "You also felt something?" "Yes," muttered Pippin. "It is the sign of our fall in the shadow of doom, a fell rider of the air." "Yes, the shadow of doom," said Beregond. "I fear that Minas Tirith shall fall. Night comes, and the very warmth of my blood seems stolen away." For a time they sat together with bowed heads and did not speak. Then suddenly Pippin looked up and saw that the sun was still shining, and the banners still streaming in the breeze. He shook himself. "It has passed," he said. "No, my heart will not yet despair. Gandalf fell and has returned and is with us. We may stand, if only on one leg, or at least be left still upon our knees." Look.
I said nothing.
"Rightly said," cried Beregond, rising and striding to and fro. "Nay, though all things must come utterly to an end in time, Gondor shall not perish yet. Not though the walls be taken by a reckless foe, it will build a hill of carrion before them. There are still other fastnesses, and secret ways of escape into the mountains. Hope and memory shall live still in some hidden valley where the grass is green." That's sort of hopeful, I guess.
Right? They can't kill all of us. That's what that is.
Right? But then that just makes me think of the people united can never be ignited.
Oh, no. Yeah, pretty much.
All the same, I wish it was over for good or ill, said Pippin. I am no warrior at all, and dislike any thought of battle. But waiting on the edge of one that I can't escape is worst of all. What a long day it seems already.
That actually makes me think of an episode of Futurama, where Bender and Fry accidentally enlist. Did you ever see that one? They're waiting for a battle to begin, and the guy standing next to Fry is like, "The waiting is the worst part." And Fry's like, "And then the battle's not so bad?" And the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, shoot, I forgot about the battle." That's definitely worse. Sorry.
Yeah, the being maimed is the worst part.
Yeah.
What a long day it seems already. I should be happier if we were not obliged to stand and watch, making no move, striking nowhere first. No stroke would have been struck in Rohan, I think, but for Gandalf. Ah, there you lay your finger on the sore that many feel, said Beregond. But things may change when Faramir returns. He is bold, more bold than many deem. For in these days men are slow to believe that a captain can be wise and learned in the scrolls of lore and song, as he is, and yet a man of hardihood and swift judgment in the field. But such is Faramir.
And he's pretty, too.
Yeah, right. Less reckless and eager than Boromir, but not less resolute. Yet what indeed can he do? We cannot assault the mountains of yonder realm. Our reach is shortened. We cannot strike till some foe comes within it. Then our hand must be heavy. He smote the hilt of his sword. Pippin looked at him, tall and proud and noble as all the men that he had yet seen in that land. And with a glitter in his eyes, he thought of the battle. I have to say that all I can think about, because of the height difference, is that Pippin's looking right up his nose.
Yeah, he's standing in proudly in a noble attitude. This is what we're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can only see a little bit of the glimmer of his eye. Like,
is his eye glimmering, or is that just? Oh well. Well, Pippin's still standing on a seat, right?
I thought Pippin sat down and then Beregond stood up.
Oh yeah, you're right. Those are some noble nostrils right there.
There was a glitter in his nose as he thought of the battle.
Yep.
Alas, my own hand feels light as a feather, Pippin thought, but he said nothing. A pawn, did Gandalf say? Perhaps, but on the wrong chessboard. So they talked until the sun reached its height, and suddenly the noon bells were rung, and there was a stir in the citadel, for all save the watchmen were going to their meal. Will you come with me? Said Beregond. You may join my mess for this day. I do not know to what company you will be assigned, or the Lord may hold you at his own command. But you will be welcome, and it will be well to meet as many men as you may while there is yet time.
Before they're dead.
Right. Or you're dead. Or they mistake you for an orc and shoot you in the face, or whatever.
Bad things are going to happen. Come make some friends so you can mourn them properly.
What are you, a filmmaker? I shall be glad to come, said Pippin. I am lonely, to tell you the truth. I left my best friend behind in Rohan, and I have had no one to talk to or jest with. Perhaps I could really join your company. Are you the captain? If so, you could take me on, or speak for me. Nay, nay, Beregond laughed. I am no captain. Neither office, nor rank, nor lordship have I, being but a plain man of arms of the 3rd Company of the Citadel. Yet, Master Peregrine, to be only a man of arms of the guard of the Tower of Gondor is held worthy in the city, and such men have honor in the land. Then it is far beyond me, said Pippin. Take me back to our room, and if Gandalf is not there, I will go where you like, as your guest. Gandalf was not in the lodging and had sent no message. So Pippin went with Baragond and was made known to the men of the Third Company. And it seemed that Baragond got as much honor from it as his guest, for Pippin was very welcome. There had already been much talk in the citadel about Mithrandir's companion and his long closeting with the Lord. And rumor declared that a prince of the halflings had come out of the north to offer allegiance to Gondor and 5,000 swords. Oh,
Aww.
Sweet summer children.
Right.
And some said that when the riders came from Rohan, each would bring behind him a halfling warrior, small maybe, but doughty.
This is how we keep our hope up, with lies.
Lies! Though Pippin had regretfully to destroy this hopeful tale, he could not be rid of his new rank, only fitting, men thought, to one befriended by Boromir, and honored by the Lord Denethor. And they thanked him for coming among them, and hung on his words and stories of the outlands, and gave him as much food and ale as he could wish. Indeed, his only trouble was to be wary, according to the counsel of Gandalf, and not to let his tongue wag freely, after the manner of a hobbit among friends.
Yep, that's difficult.
Yep. We are not going to get through the next section before 8. But next time, perhaps, we can introduce Burgil.
Burgle!
Burgle.
Burgle. Yeah, the 10-year-old who was allowed to stay in the city that they know is going to be besieged.
Parenting.
I'm like, look, my mom's dead, and you know my dad ain't gonna survive this, so just... You don't have any family anywhere.
Did we talk about the fact that I hadn't realized until very recently that in the scene in the cave, in the movies, the kid that Aragorn talks to is Haleth, son of Hama?
We have not talked about that, and yeah, I thought that was pretty messed up.
That, like, I never made that connection, and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Uh-huh. Hey, little orphan child. Yeah, we saw your daddy's face get bitten off. With POV and everything.
We did.
And even in the book, he specifically dies. Although not during the Warg raid. He dies at Helm's Deep. And Theoden brings it up. And they hewed Hama's body before the gates of the Hornburg. That's one of the things.
Which, was it necessary? No. What is it? Is this George R. R. Martin? No.
Where do you think Martin got it from? Sure as shit isn't original. Ooh.
Have you seen these?
It's dragon macarons.
I think they're clay sculptures. I don't think they're edible macarons.
Yeah, I know. I don't care. They're awesome.
No, they are awesome. I was just like, if you wanted to, like, make these, make them out of clay and not food. But there's also
hold my beer.
I mean, if you want to accept the challenge, feel free.
Oh my god, those are so cute. I love what people do with Sculpey.
Cute.
So cute.
Yeah. Anywho.
Yes.
There's like one piece of hair that is just tickling my eyelid. And so if you see me constantly messing with my hair, that's why.
It isn't because you're vain or any of that nonsense.
I mean, I am on camera, but no, it's mostly because it itches.
I can't remember where I was going with that word. I am going to, after all, resurrect my old Twitter account and send messages to the various sciencey people that I think would really get a kick out of my elementals because I was scared too, and I posted that on Facebook, and like 37 people said, please do that. That's a really great idea. And I'm like, well, okay, if you think so. Jason's like, peer pressure. And I'm like, is it really peer pressure if it was my idea and I just didn't have the balls to do it until I had some support? Like, come on. It's not peer pressure.
The difference between peer support and peer pressure is a matter of opinion.
Right?
One piece of hair. I swear to God.
There. This fairy is going to be standing on these little cubey things, and I feel like I've got the perspective right because the angle that they are at is there. Yeah? Nay?
Yes. Yeah, now that her feet are in the right spot, yes.
Right?
When she was kind of in between, I was like, she doesn't look like she's standing.
Now she does.
Yeah.
And any one of these would work, but I think we'll go central.
Yeah. You might also have better luck with a sort of standing look if her feet were flat instead of on tiptoes.
True. But they look so cute.
They do look very cute.
I think I like it off to one side. It makes it feel more like an illuminated manuscript style. That bottom wing is too straightforward. I'm always doing that. And like, I nail the foreshortening everywhere except in one key detail, and that fucks it all up. Aha! There it is. Being an artist is just drawing lines until you've drawn the right line and then erasing all the rest. Started there.
That's pretty true with any creative endeavor, I think, is like you just keep doing the thing until you do the thing right.
Until it looks right. Yeah. Like, nope, that's not right. Nope, that's not right. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, that's the one.
Sometimes it drives me crazy if I'm writing a story because I'll know that something is missing. Like, okay, something goes between this and this, but I don't know what yet. And then I'm just like waiting, and I can't post anything anywhere because I know that it's not right, but I haven't figured out what's wrong. I have one story.
Yeah, sometimes you have to keep going and then come back to it, and then it arrives.
Right, but sometimes it takes a really long time. Like I have a story that's been completely finished for like 2 years, except it's not, but I don't know what's wrong with it. And no one else would think there was anything wrong with it, but I can't. It bothers me.
Yeah, and that's what matters. It's your friggin' art.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. So 2 things that bother me as a creator of things. One is people saying, will you make this creative thing? And I say, yeah, that sounds great. When do you want it by? And them saying, oh, whenever.
Mm-hmm.
I hate whenever. Whenever never comes. I have things that have been on the shelf for 18 years because a person said whenever. And the other one is, now I can't remember. Oh, people thinking that I can't take a critique. No, that's good. That's really good. Oh, it's so good. And then months later, they're like, I really didn't like the way that arm looked. And I'm like, me neither. It would have been helpful to get that input then because it was driving me crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out when is a polite time to email my tattoo artist and find out if she has like a mock-up for me to look at yet.
Right? I don't know. You didn't say whenever to her though, right?
Well, no, the appointment's in 2 weeks.
Okay. I can't wait to see your new tattoo.
I can't either because I haven't seen a thing. I'm like, look, I like your art style. I really want you to just go nuts with it, but also I want to know what that means before I show up to get it permanently put on my skin.
Yeah. Please, just a little sampler.
Mm-hmm. Little hint, little mock-up. But I'm like, maybe she hasn't started yet. she tattoos full time. I'm not her only client, so I don't know how long that takes.
I was thinking that it's probably time for me to finally get my dragon that I've wanted since I was 10.
I mean, probably.
Right? I think I need to fire the landscaper who I hired to do the back retaining wall. This is the last thing I'll say before you have to go. I understand, but so I hired him in late March, and his prediction was July, and I was like, that's fair. 3 months. Like, yeah, you're busy. You got stuff going. And after July, I texted him every month or so, like, hey, new ETA, please. I understand you're delayed. What's going on? And finally, after the text in late August, like last week, he actually called me. And before he was texting back like, oh yeah, new ETA September, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me to say that he never did get his summer workers lined up because no one wants to work because of government handouts.
Yeah, I think you should fire that guy.
I'm gonna fire that guy. And he doesn't expect to get to my project until December.
Yeah, fire that guy.
I'm so done. And I didn't fire him at the time because I was like, I don't have a plan B. I really want to have a plan B in place. I need that fucking retaining wall. I've been very patient and very good. But what I did was I sent him another text saying, hey, I was just talking to a friend. They're looking for work. What's your pay like? No response. You pay minimum wage. I almost guarantee it, because otherwise you would have given me that information to give to my friend.
Well,
workers.
He probably doesn't pay minimum wage. He probably pays under minimum wage to people who can't complain.
Right? I had a really good feeling about him back in March too. You know that? He seemed charming and chill. Raised by a hippie, understands that he doesn't get to cut into my tree roots, loves trees, the whole 9 yards. He was just a really good salesman. And now I'm like, fuck you.
Alas.
Yep. So maybe I can do it myself. Jason and I talked about this. We opted to not because it's a fuck ton of work. But maybe I can get some friends over and we could just spend a week digging and putting in a retaining wall. Do you want to come? Take some PTO and dig in my backyard?
I love you very much, but my joints are made of silly putty.
That's right, they are.
I've never gotten a shovel into the ground successfully once in my life.
You also don't have any weight to throw behind a shovel.
I have more than I used to, but the issue is I don't have any grip strength, so my joints just go boop. Like, it's the same issue with opening wine bottles. I had to get an electric corkscrew because I'm like, I have the muscle to get things in there, but then I don't have the grip strength to pull them back out.
Sorry, it's not funny, but it is.
Look, if you can't laugh, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Before I had an electric corkscrew, the last time I tried to take a cork out of a wine bottle, I ended up in the bath with a shoe, a screw, a hammer, and a wooden spoon. What was that? You cut out.
You really needed that wine.
I did. I was trying to cook with it. I was trying to make beef stew or beef bourguignon or something. This was way back when I was living with Ben. This was a long time ago. But yeah. I was in the bath because I was pushing the cork in and I knew it was going to splash.
Ah,
which enough. It did.
I had trouble with a cork at Eleni's once. The wine bottle had been opened before and the cork put back in and then it wouldn't, it just wasn't budging. So I I was yanking on it and yanking on it. And finally, I got down on the floor behind the counter so that I could grip the bottle with my knees and yank. And they heard me go, "Urgh!" And then I stood up. And they were like, they called one of my, whichever boss was there that night over, and they were like, "We're pretty sure she pulled the cork out with her teeth. Sanitary."
And you were like, no, I value my dental health much more than that.
Oh, yeah. Like, I could see how it sounded that way, but no.
Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go.
Okay, I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Adiós.
Good night.
Good night.